And now, please welcome Henk Rogers, founder and chairman of Blue Planet Energy, and Julian Spector, senior reporter for Canary Media.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Yeah, you're having a good time in Anaheim. It's sunny. It's nice. I flew from Honolulu to be here, so, you know, it's still sunny at least. And Henk also came from Hawaii.
Honolulu.
Right? Yeah, okay. So we got two people who've been spending some time in a state that has charted a course to 100% clean energy, in part due to the advocacy of Henk right here. But we're gonna have a little fireside chat, get into some of the business questions around clean energy, technological, and then policy, and how you advocate to get the right policies in place to facilitate real change, as is happening in Hawaii. So I think to start with, you know, when I'm watching panels at a conference, I'm always wondering, like, why am I watching these people? Like, what's their, you know, reason for being upstage and commanding that attention? And you know, started your career in video games and notably brought Tetris to the world, which is a big accomplishment, one of the big games of all times, yeah. So why are you here at a renewable energy conference? Can you walk us through, you know, your transition from that career to what you've been doing since?
So about, gosh, it's 17 years ago now. I sold a company. A month later, found myself in the back of an ambulance with 100% blockage of the Widowmaker.
Ooh.
And I'm going...
The Widowmaker for...
That's the biggest artery in your heart.
Okay.
It'll kill you if you're more than 15 minutes away from a major angioplasty facility.
Wow.
I was lucky that day. I was not on the Big Island. I was in Honolulu.
Okay.
And they said they were taking me in for observation, and they weren't going to turn on the siren. So when the siren went on, I knew that the blank was hitting the fan. And my first thought was like, you got to be kidding me. I haven't spent any of the money yet. But the second thing I said is, no, I'm not going. I still have stuff to do. If I have to hold my breath for 15 minutes, I will. And so obviously I recovered. I have 2 stents, no big deal. What did I mean by stuff? You know, I had already made enough money, so my wife didn't need me anymore. My kids were out of college, so they didn't need me anymore. So I pretty much done everything I needed.
I'm sure they'd like to have you around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know, you know, for more money, but I already had the money, so. So anyway, I decided to look at it backwards from the end of my life. What is it that's going to upset me if I didn't do something about it by the end of my life? And I searched for and found my missions in life.
Gotcha. Do you want to share what those are?
The first mission came to me in the back of the newspaper. It was, you know, I was still in the recovery room, and it's by the obituaries. It's like, are you serious? In the back of the newspaper, this is a Hawaii newspaper now, it said, we're going to kill all the coral in the world by the end of the century. I was like, what are you talking about? It says, well, ocean acidification is going to basically make it impossible for coral to grow. What's causing that? Carbon dioxide. What's causing that? We are. And so my first mission is to end the use of carbon-based fuel. So it's full stop. So I decided to start in Hawaii. So I created a foundation in Hawaii to end the use of carbon-based fuel in Hawaii. It's called the Blue Planet Foundation. One of my companies now is called Blue Planet something. And we went about trying to figure out how to do that in Hawaii. We had children go door to door and exchange 300,000 light bulbs. Our claim to fame, though, is that we got Hawaii to pass a mandate of 100% renewable energy by 2045.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can clap for that.
So that's very important. I've done a bit of reporting on this for Canary Media, where I work, canarymedia.com if you want to look it up. But like Hawaii, this was 2015. No other state had passed a law requiring, with the force of law, that you shift away from fossil fuels on the grid. And since that state passed it, there's been this whole domino effect of California.
We've had 12 other states and territories adopt our legislation. And the 3 biggest ones, California, New York, and Illinois, that's over half the population of this country, have a mandate to go 100% renewable energy by 2045.
Yeah, so, and it's remarkable that, you know, Hawaii is a a small state by population, very far out in the Pacific Ocean. It's not, you know, one you might expect to have this huge influence and kind of turn the tide for energy policy across the mainland. But how did you get that passed? Like, what were the challenging conversations you had to have at a time when no one knew it could be done because no one had tried?
Well, if you go back to before, this is the before. It took us years to get the legislation through. You just have to keep trying. Our biggest opponent in the legislature, their lobbyist versus our lobbyist, was the electric company. The electric company saying, no, we can't do that. You know, our job is to provide 24/7 reliable electricity. Renewable is, you know, intermittent, blah, blah, blah. They had all kinds of excuses. And when we finally did pass the amendment or the mandate, then 6 months later, they came out and publicly said, you know what? We looked at it and we figured it out. We can do it by 2040. It's like, where have you guys been? Have you guys never even thought about this? And this is like the most important thing that we need to do in the world, and you guys haven't even thought about it. So the mandate is to get the energy companies in a jurisdiction to start thinking about it. And since then, we changed the business model of the utility so they make more money by switching to renewables. Guess who's our best friend now? It's the utility.
It's true, yeah. I mean, I was just out on Oahu. They had just built the largest solar plus battery project on the whole island this summer, Mililani, and yeah, the CEO of the utility company, Hawaiian Electric, they're there. They're proud to talk about the clean energy they've, you know, overseen this build out of. So do you want to talk, I mean, we probably have some energy nerds in the audience. So there's some, do you like rate making and regulatory diversions in the conversation? Because, yeah, we got to, okay, so it's called performance-based rate making, right? And it's changing the way the utility makes money. So it's not just they need to invest in capital expenses, but there's other things. Do you have any takeaways for other states?
If you go back in time, the way the original business plan was set up by the legislature or the PUC, I forget, is that the electric company gets to make 10% on top of the price of oil. So if the price of oil goes up, they're happy because they're going to make more money, which is the wrong incentive.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a person that's like on the other end of that equation, if you're the ratepayer, oh my God. So if you do
so they were actually profiting off of the fuel costs for their.
Well, I mean, of course they're doing this infrastructure thing as well, but I mean, that is basically the formula by which they can make money.
Wow.
And so we had to change that formula. So if you do the calculation, it costs them about 25 cents per kilowatt hour for oil-based electricity, because they have to buy the oil from Russia, Libya, and Venezuela. Are these our best friends in the world? Not exactly. So they're all, how can I say, high-risk places with expensive oil. Anyway, 25 cents. And if you go look at renewables like wind and solar, they cost them 8 cents per kilowatt hour. Add storage, now you're talking about 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That's still half. So if they're making 10% on 25 cents, that's 2.5 cents. If we say you can make 3 cents on 12 cents, that means that our rates are going way down and they're making way more money. Win-win. And this is the thing that we need to accomplish in every island in the world, because they need to have this win-win situation where the utility makes more money and the people pay less.
Yeah, and that's kind of elegant in how it gets past the utility versus solar struggles that we're seeing in a lot of states. California, there's the full fight over net metering and all that. And you know, I think some people look at the monopoly utilities and say that's wrong. We shouldn't have to give them what they want. Let's do something else. But you know, it's hard to get past the biggest energy company in your state and their major employer. There's all these sort of entrenched systems there. So in this case, you were able to deliver cleaner power and cheaper power to the customers, the people of Hawaii, and the utility got something out of it.
Yeah.
And so that feels good? Like that?
Oh, it feels so good. Are you kidding me? So this is the model that we were exporting now. We have 12 other states and territories that have adopted. And now with my new NGO in New York, the Blue Planet Alliance, We are doing the same thing, but for the rest of the world, starting with island countries, because the island countries are suffering the most. It's not their fault, and they have to pay these high energy costs. And these are places that generally depend on tourism for their economy, so they are really struggling. And you know, paying 50, some places it costs them $1 per kilowatt hour because it's diesel, it's imported diesel. And the diesel has gone a long way to find its way to some small island. Those poor people are just struggling. They're not the richest people in the world, absolutely not. They don't have that kind of money. And if you've got diesel infrastructure, diesel engines break down. They have many moving parts. And when it breaks down, there's nobody in that jurisdiction that knows how to fix a diesel engine. So then they got to wait for somebody to come from somewhere else. And of course, if somebody's coming from somewhere else, that's a really expensive way of fixing something that's broken.
Yeah. And I'm curious if we could draw out any other lessons from Hawaii for you know, people who might be advocating for this in other states or other island nations. Because, you know, you mentioned they used to import from Russia. When the Ukraine invasion happened this year, the state had to scramble to replace a third. It was a full third of the oil coming into Hawaii had been from Russia that they had to stop buying, you know, because of the war, and find that elsewhere, and that drove prices up, and, you know, everyone driving and using electricity on the island is paying more for that. So it kind of looks prescient to have started the process of building the solar. If anything, starting years earlier would have been great because there'd be more in place right now. But do you think that lesson resonates elsewhere, that if you start early, you can actually worry less about global oil price spikes because they just don't hurt you as much?
It's confusing to a lot of people. You know, I go to the islands and speak to island leaders, and they're kind of in a situation where, well, this is the way it's always been, so, you know, why should we change? And then on top of it, they hear stories, and then they say they don't have the money. You know, Hawaii, the utility didn't spend any money. All they did was put out RFPs, requests for proposal. The last one I heard was like 900 megawatts. That's like half of Hawaii. Basically what it is that people come and say, we'll build you wind or solar or whatever it is, and we'll sell it to you at 8 or 12 cents a kilowatt hour. So they don't actually need to come up with the money. And at the same time, all these, you know, industrialized countries in the world have vowed to give them money to do it. Well, the worst thing you can do is give a whole bunch of money to an island because they just don't know how to do it, what to do with it. They don't have the expertise to figure out which company they should be working with or what technology they should be using. There's just, they don't understand. And so the difficulty is that we're helping people who don't really understand, and we expect them to make the decision. What we should be doing is giving them renewable energy. Instead of giving them money, give them renewable energy. And people in the industrialized country should figure out which technologies they should be providing. Okay, so do you mean this is a kind of climate justice for island nations that are going to be threatened by climate change, that the wealthier nations who have the resources and kind of caused climate change, it's incumbent on them to like help out providing that? It's already earmarked. They've already committed to doing this. Right, when you go to the COPs, you know, the industrialists say, oh, we'll do this for you. But has that money actually moved? No, not really. It's supposed to be there, but it hasn't moved. Yeah. And that's something that we, in this industry, we need to figure out how to access that money and how to deploy it. It's just an important thing that we have to accomplish. Absolutely. And you touched on an important point, which is before you've ever built a whole series of large-scale renewables, you don't have the experience of building a whole series of large-scale renewable projects. And I think in Hawaii, that difficulty, there were some growing pains maybe where the Hawaiian Electric had these 10 projects for Oahu. They basically all fell behind schedule in the last few years, and there's different reasons with the, you know, COVID messing up supply chains, and,
it's just harder to build things in Hawaii generally, and maybe Hawaiian Electric's project management you could point to. There are different things, but at the end of the day, the first batch didn't go quite to plan, but they've learned from that. They've changed the interconnection processes and addressed some permitting, and so that sets you up for the next phase. But
yeah, the big problem in Hawaii is the permitting process. Hawaii has the highest per capita government employees of any state in the country.
Oh,
so there are tons of people who just have to say yes, and I agree with this, and basically they're very gun shy, because if they make a mistake, if something goes wrong somewhere, they're on the line, and so they're just very careful. And so whereas it takes, I don't know, weeks in some places to get a permit to put your wind, solar or batteries, in Hawaii it can take 6 months. If it takes six months, and the bigger the project, the more time it takes. So the more time it takes, that is all cost. Because you've got all your, if you do something quickly, that's one cost. But if you stretch that whole project out to take an extra 6 months, now you're having cost overruns. And that is, I don't know whether that's an endemic problem to islands, but it's certainly the problem in Hawaii.
Well, I brought it up because I think that is something that will be more of a problem elsewhere on the mainland. And we've already run into transmission projects for renewables that are just years delayed and very hard to actually execute. And now in the Senate, there's this permitting reform bill that Senator Manchin's working on that some environmentalists have attacked as a kind of handout to the fossil fuel interest. But then there's folks on the transmission and large-scale renewables side I've talked to who are saying, no, we need to reform this. We need a faster way to get these projects approved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's a reason that we can't make 2045, it isn't financial, it isn't technological, it's not that we don't have the willpower, it's just the permitting process.
Gotcha. And then one more on Hawaii, and then we could get to the other parts of the world. But I was there recently to report on the last coal plant in the whole state is shut down. There's no more coal happening in Hawaii as of September 1st. Yeah, that's a huge achievement.
By the way, so that was another bill that we passed.
Yeah.
Blue Planet Foundation passed a bill saying no more coal-fired power plant after 2022. So that's it.
So that's it, and it's I think the only state, as far as I know, that has not built any new natural gas plants to fill in the gap. So that's also pretty remarkable. Is the only new capacity coming in is solar and batteries, and they're replacing the largest power plant on the island of Oahu. But I wanted to ask you about that. So you helped pass that bill specifically saying this plant has to shut down. Then that ended up kind of colliding with the timeline slipping back on all the solar plants to replace the coal plant. So we do have this situation where in the near term, they're burning more oil right now to kind of fill in the gap that the coal plant was providing. And then as the new solar plants come, they'll chip away at that extra oil being burned. And so I guess I'm curious, do you think, is that the best policy approach to have a legislature say, we're calling an end date on this fossil fuel plant at this time, and you got to figure it out? Or, in retrospect, would it have been good to have some flexibility around that timeline?
No, if you don't have a deadline, nothing happens. If you have a homework assignment that's due next Friday, if the teacher said, well, it could be next Friday, but maybe Monday or Tuesday or whatever is okay, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we need deadlines. All construction projects have deadlines. And so we need a deadline for each state, for each project, for everything. It has to have a deadline. And if you come in ahead of the deadline, you should get a bonus. And if you come in behind the deadline, you should be penalized. That's the incentive that we need in the world. When we asked for Hawaii to have 100% renewable, we asked for 2040. The politicians offered us 2050, and we went into negotiation, and we settled at 2045. And you say, why 2045? It turns out 2045 is the 100th anniversary of the United Nations.
Huh.
So right now we're on the SDGs. I'm wearing the little SDG in the Sustainable Development Goals. And they run from 2015 to 2030. And then the next 15 years, we have another 15 years until 2045. What are those years going to be? I'm hoping there will be the regenerative development goals. So we put back everything that we've taken from nature, and we turn the world back to the way it used to be. So my mission in the Blue Planet Alliance is to create a world in which humanity and nature live in harmony. Full stop.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, well, I think that's a great point about you got to have the deadlines, and you know, I think even people who are grumbling about higher prices for electricity right now acknowledge, you know, at least everyone's treating this like the top priority to get the new plants built and get all that solar power up and running. So, so let's talk about, you know, what are you working on? You got that through Hawaii. It's on track, you know, with some little growing pains along the way. So where are you focused on now? Like who else needs to pass their own 100% clean energy law?
Of course, everybody does. Everybody does. But we need to show, first of all, that that it causes an economic boom. If it causes an economic boom in islands, then all of a sudden everybody will start paying attention. But I started the Alliance in New York to kind of, the original idea was, let's just do what we did in Hawaii, get every country to have 100% by 2045. And it's not like we're not doing that, but the thing is, there are so many NGOs out there that are all trying to do something similar. And the problem with that is that each NGO is working in a silo, means they talk to their constituents, they send them email, can you write your congressman or whatever it is. And the problem is that they don't have a very loud voice, whereas OPEC has a huge voice. When they sneeze, everybody in the world knows. And so what we need to do to counteract, you know, the fossil fuel industry is we need to organize. We need to have a big enough voice so that when we say something, everybody listens. And that's why it's the Alliance. And we're signing MOUs, Memoranda of Understanding, with every other NGO that is similar minded. That's why we have a broader mission. It's to create a world in which humanity and nature live in harmony. Who disagrees with that? Nobody. And
maybe OPEC.
You know, I think OPEC leaders have children too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So even though they are stuck in making money using this fossil fuel, deep down they have children and grandchildren. So everybody has that. Everybody wouldn't mind, you know, a planet in which humanity and nature live in harmony. So that's the first thing we're doing, is we're MOUs with everyone. The second thing is we're doing the island hopping thing, going from island to island, helping them figure out how to go 100%. By the way, when we started the foundation in Hawaii, we had no idea what we were doing. We just tried everything. It's like the shotgun approach. And then the things that worked, we did more, and the things that didn't work, we stopped doing. So the third thing we're doing is a rating system where we're rating all products and companies in the world. Right now, it's 5 stars. The 5 stars tells you if you got a bang for your buck, but it doesn't tell you anything about how good this product or this service is for the future of humanity. And so basically, we have 5 planets, and we get 550 rating agencies, the information we collected, and then we'll tell you how good your product is and how good your company is compared to all of the other companies. And so then consumers can make better buy decisions, and companies can compete to make better products and become better companies. And so it's something it's a mechanism by which everything should get better.
Okay, and would that be inserted into like Amazon with
every
reviews
place
or all the?
Amazon right now has a thumbs up or thumbs down, some kind of certificate. The problem is once you achieve the certificate, that's it. You don't have to do anything anymore. So the idea is, you know, even though you're, you're at 70%, somebody else comes in there at 73%, You want to compete and become 74 or 75%.
Oh, okay.
So we want that competition of companies becoming better and products becoming better.
Yeah.
That will lift everything. And yeah, it raises the bar for everybody.
Yeah, gotcha. And then, so back to the policy advocacy, are there certain countries on your wish list that you think you might succeed in getting a target passed in the next year? Or
Sure.
Any places folks here should focus on, you know, if they're getting involved in
If
advocacy?
you have a lead to a country, talk to us. And basically, we're doing everything to make the world a better place by 2045. So if you would like to join us in our effort, I have a QR code. That was my signal. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
I have a
Okay.
QR code. So if everyone could put their, oh, can you see it? Where is it? Oh, it's
Yeah,
on the
up
big
on
screen.
the big
Got
screens.
it, got it.
And yeah, what does that do if they?
That basically just connects you to the Blue Planet Alliance. Sorry, not energy, because I'm here to evangelize. This industry is going to solve climate change, you know, and we are the heroes. We are the ones that are doing this. And I'm very proud to be part of this industry, and my small part is, yes, I'm doing energy storage, but the bigger picture is that we as an industry are doing this. And I need us to feel that this is happening. People sometimes ask me, do you have hope? And I say, no, I don't have hope. I have determination, because we are doing this. We are going to solve the climate crisis. We're just going to do it. You know, there's a lot of people that say blah, blah, but there's all these, oh, I was on a panel. This is kind of funny, because this is before we got the mandate.
Oh, yeah.
And I was on a panel, and I said, we're going to go 100% renewable energy by 2045. And the guy sitting next to me on the panel says, oh, well, I'm a professor at the university. I study this for a living, and there's no way we're going to go 100% by 2045. And I'm like, wow, what do I say? I took the mic back and says, well, I'm not as smart as this guy, so I'm going to do it anyway. And we are. We totally are. If you look back at history, at how slow change is, and if that's what you study, then you can say, at that pace, we're never going to make it. But if you look at it in a different way, if you look at things like how quickly we adopted mobile phones, you know, it went from being a brick that nobody wanted to all of a sudden a device that everybody has. There are more mobile phones in the world today than there are people. So, and this happened in a short time. And you know, I like to use the example. In World War II, we went from biplanes to jet planes. We invented radar, sonar, missiles, cruise missiles, and the goddamn atom bomb. And we did this in 5 years using 1940s technology.
Yeah, no, it's moved fast.
This is 2022.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing we can't do.
All right, okay. Yeah. And on that note, I mean, are there technologies that you think we do still need to invent? I mean, you're involved in commercializing batteries that can take people's homes off the grid, and you know, batteries are getting bigger and bigger in the grid every day. But you know, do we need other kind of breakthroughs before Hawaii can get to its ambitious goal?
The answer to that is no. We don't need breakthroughs. But having said that, breakthroughs happen. They're going to happen every year between now and 2045. So based on everything that we have, all the technology that we have now, we can totally do this. And imagine when we have a couple of breakthrough technologies in addition to that, we're just going to kill that deadline. And so I'm not waiting for, you know, it's like you're in a war. You fight the war with the equipment that you have, not the equipment that somebody's going to invent a couple of years from now, because, you know, you're just not going to make it.
Right. Yeah, you can't be like, please don't attack until
yeah, right.
in 5 years. That would be great.
I'm going through this R&D thing, or, yeah, no.
Yeah, can't do the war. I've got an R&D meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, and that's, you know, that's different from some of the other you know, successful software titans out there who are investing in clean energy and say that, you know, oh, we got to get the nuclear fusion or the, you know, whatever thing that doesn't exist yet. So you're sort of like hopeful or determined about what we have in our arsenal right now, and then we could probably count on some new science that we don't even have yet or can't even think about, which only like speeds up the
I
pace.
heard something interesting. I heard that, this somehow came from the utility in Hawaii, that it's pretty easy for us to get to 95%, but it's really that in the last 5% is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I went to Iceland to find out how they did it. And they have a demand, so they have demand like the Big Island, so it's 200 megawatts, something like that. I'm sorry, yeah, 200 megawatts. And then they built 2 gigawatts. So what happened? I mean, this is hydro and geothermal.
Yeah.
They have so much energy that the energy price went down so far, they became the cheapest energy in Europe, and they smelt bauxite into aluminum. They became an island. I mean, you have to bring the raw material to this island, then they turn it into aluminum and supply Europe with aluminum.
Wow.
I mean, that's the kind of vision that you need. So they didn't go 95%, they went like, I don't know, 400%.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that's a great anecdote. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I had a lot of fun with this. This is one of the more animated sessions I've gotten to moderate. What did you all think of Henk up here? All right. Well, thank you so much. Check out Blue Planet's efforts. Check out canarymedia.com for news on all these topics, and hope you have the great rest of your day. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.